You know, and it's really an honor to be here. I know this is a big crowd. You probably think I'm overwhelmed. A couple of people asked me if I would be scared to talk to this many people. And I want you to know that I've talked to more people than this and many times. Actually, I've even spoken to richer people than this and many times. I've spoken to my ball players a few times. But I want you to know that I outdrew Bob Hope. And I went to do about 5 years ago, I did a President's Day speech in Pekin, Illinois. And the people told me that I outdrew Bob Hope. But they failed to tell me that Bob Hope was there 40 years before me. I'm glad to be here, and as I said, it's nice to be anywhere when you're not working, but I knew I wasn't first choice. I knew you had some other choices. It was a tough decision to make, and heck, I knew you tried to get John Madden, but I knew you couldn't afford him. And I found out you tried to get Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy would have came, but he had a hair appointment tonight. Yeah, but it did hurt my feelings when I found out you tried to get Buddy Ryan. That really killed me. Of course, Buddy's now looking for employment also, but I don't know. He spent a lot of time taking boxing lessons, you know. And if he would have ever learned to fight, I'll guarantee you would have got his butt whipped. No, I have no hard feelings with Buddy. He does his thing, and I do my thing. And, you know, I listened to some great messages up here, and I hope you heard them. I really do, because you really don't need a motivational speaker. You know, I don't believe in the word motivation anyways. I believe in life, you get out of life what you put into life. You know, I grew up in a small town outside of Pittsburgh, Aliquippa. A lot of you people know of it. I went back there to speak last week in Pittsburgh, and I commented, what a great area, what a privilege, what a joy that it was to grow up there. And why? Because of what I learned there from the people. You know, Dr. Schuller made a statement that tough times don't last, but tough people do last. And I believe that from the bottom of my heart. You know, growing up in Aliquippa in the 40s and 50s was a community where there was a steel mill, J&L Steel, that employed probably 19,000 people. 30,000 people in that community. And all those communities along the river, Beaver Falls, Ambridge, Midland, Freedom, they all had mills. What a great area to go. What great competition. What great camaraderie we had back then. I go back to Aliquippa every year. We have a golf tournament. We raise money for scholarships for young people in that area who can't afford to send themselves to college, or their parents can't afford to send them to college. Aliquippa today is a town that's kind of depressed. About 9,000 people. Most of them living on a fixed income. The mill that stood along the Ohio River that went stretched for 5 miles is now rusting and rotten and dilapidated and crumbled. One part of that mill stays open, called the Seamless Tube, employs 250 people. That's all. The downtown area that was so beautiful when I grew up, 2 miles of stores and shops, theaters and boutiques, is all boarded up and closed. Maybe 3 bars open down there. It looks like a war zone. But what amazes me about Aliquippa, and always will, just like every other community in western New York or eastern Pennsylvania, are the people. The people are good. And that's what this whole game is all about, gang, people. It's about you and it's about them. And that's all life is ever about. It's about people. Because it doesn't work without good people. And to make anything a success in life, it has to start with the first thing, and that's the ingredient that goes into it. All the best laid plans of mice and men go astray if you don't have good people to make them work. But I had good people back then. I had good people who taught me what was important in life. And it started with my parents and my teachers and my coaches and my neighbors and my relatives who set an example that the way to get ahead in life was to outwork the other guy, was to practice longer, to work harder, to discipline yourself, to make some sacrifices. That's what I learned. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know if it's good or bad. But I'll guarantee you, if there is such a thing as the American dream, then I'm part of it. Because my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. And the only way I could have got an education was through my football abilities. And I had very little of that when I started out, gang. Very little. But I had a lot of support. I had a lot of people who believed that they saw something that they could bring out over time, and they did. And I worked to make that happen also. So to me, that's what it's all about. You know, there's a great amount of formulas for success. People will try to motivate you in many ways. But it was